Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Tranquil Living Uruguay podcast. One of the biggest mistakes foreigners make when applying for residency in Uruguay is trying to do everything alone. Today, I'm talking about one of the most important decisions you will make when relocating here. And that is whether or not to hire a relocation or immigration specialist when applying for residency in Uruguay. While it is possible to apply and do it all on your own, hiring a relocation or immigration specialist can save you time, stress, frustration, and really expensive mistakes along the way. You don't want to skip on local expertise available to you. Many foreigners just really underestimate how fluid, paperwork heavy, and relationship based the process can be. And if you're seeking residency, requirements can change. There's sometimes conflicting information, and the timelines are not straightforward. The timing of each step in the process can stretch much longer than expected without guidance. Unfortunately, bureaucracy is real here. A lot of the process, or some of the process, can be out of your control, and that is why expert help matters. Applying for residency looks simple on paper, but especially if you don't speak Spanish, or if you're like me, you speak Spanish, but Spanish is my second language. It's not the Rio Platense Spanish. In my case, and in most people's cases, the professional help really mattered and makes a difference. You don't want to go at it alone, figuring out the required missing documents, the conflicting information, having no clear direct answers. Literally your head will spin. So when exactly should you hire a relocation or immigration specialist? I believe it's at the onset of your moving abroad process. It's important to have a clear understanding of the road ahead to residency in Uruguay, so you're not just in the dark or just on the go figuring things out. And one thing I want to make clear, you do not need an immigration lawyer to help you with your residency application. Legal help or intervention is not necessary. It is a legal process, but it's not necessary. You just need the hand-holding of a professional, basically. As I said, you can do it alone, but I strongly recommend a relocation immigration specialist to help guide you. So what does a relocation or immigration specialists actually do? The relocation specialist pre-checks your documents, coordinates appointments for you at immigration office, medical clinics, the ID, which is also called the Cedula office, Interpol, and those are just to name a few. They communicate with the personnel at these government offices, and because of that, they have uniquely developed relationships with these people, which goes a long way. And ultimately, this person is just knowledgeable on the general timelines of actions at these offices and just in general helps you avoid delays or rejections. Some will help set you up with bank accounts, getting your business registered, or even setting up healthcare as well. And I think the biggest advantage of relocation specialists is the connections and points of contacts that are shared with you, from an accountant to notary, insurance runner, real estate agent, professional moving services. They are all able to help make the transition to your new country go as smoothly as possible. And again, going at it alone can develop into a nightmare. So the residency in Uruguay can be a little bit more complex than what it looks on paper. In our case, we arrived during COVID at a time where it felt like there was ever-changing requirements or official information was inconsistent. So that was, frustrating for us, just basically because of the timing of when we did our move. But it's important to know that documents need to be apostilled from your home country and translated appropriately. At any moment, there can be timing issues. For example, getting an appointment at one of the offices, for example, to get your cedula or getting your birth certificates registered at the official records office can take months because of the backlog in their online appointment system. And there's just no time slots available, kind of thing. So, those are when I say like the timeline's not straightforward, it's like everything's dependent on each step along the way. And just applying in general, just applying for residency alone is a disadvantage for a lot of reasons. If you aren't fluent in Spanish, being brand new in the country and communicating with personnel at government immigration offices, just that's not going to go smoothly. Um, you may not understand what they're saying or what they need from you, for example, or the chances of you showing up unprepared to appointments is high. You are constantly presenting yourselves and having to physically go into offices and places that are unknown to you. You're new to the country, so you may not know like the layout, how the parking is, how early you need to get there, to be on time for your appointment. You want to be punctual and not show up late and miss your appointment. And just the process of how things are done here is different in general. For example, if you go to an office, there are multiple people you're going to be dealing with. First, for example, upon arrival, there's the receptionist. Then you wait to be called on by the person you're actually having to deal with. Then, if you have to pay a fee for some documentation or for some processing thing, then you have to go to the cashier as another step. Then go back and show the person you were working with a receipt of the payment from the cashier. You have to make sure you have enough pesos on hand in cash. For example, if you don't have like a local bank account to pay for the fee that you are paying for. I'm just speaking on like, for example, like my experience at the immigration office. Like logistically, it can get a little crazy and it's just different than the US. If you're moving as a family and have kids, navigating that alone with the whole family in tow at these offices is a nightmare. You will also be at a disadvantage if you have either missing or expired documents, or you don't have the documents like appropriately translated. These are just some of the general reasons why you just don't want to go at this alone. Ultimately, I think hiring the relocation or immigration specialist is especially worth it for families, retirees, or anyone who's just really on a tight timeline to get things done. And it's because getting your residency is not just a legal process, it's a very like heavy administrative process. And like I said, if you have a family, especially, you're having to manage multiple documents from each person, and you just want to make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row. So, how much does it cost to hire a relocation or immigration specialist? Well, this depends and it varies on the types of assistance that you do need. Typically, I've seen it range from about $1,000 to $5,000 per person. Obviously, if you have a family, it will cost more. But some offer standard services or, for example, like comprehensive relocation packages, which is helpful. Others offer more personally curated services, even down to the point of helping you set up like internet, utilities, healthcare services, and that kind of thing. I'd say just doing the classic like ChatGPT or Google search, you can find some out there. Word of mouth is best, I would say. There are expat Facebook groups out there that communicate between each other about this extensively. And in our case, personally, our real estate agent had recommended our relocation specialist, and we personally didn't shop around because we trusted what she recommended, and we just ultimately didn't want to waste time. And luckily, it worked out great. It worked out better than what we could have expected. When it comes to actually selecting your relocation specialists and contracting them to help you, and when it comes to paying them, each one will have their own terms and conditions. For example, they may charge a consultation fee or they may not. It depends on the person that you're working with. Or they may require a 50% payment up front or 100% payment up front. And you can just work out these terms with them individually. There are costs at the onset that the specialist needs to cover as he or she is getting started on processing documentation for you throughout the application process. So if you're in the US and you begin working with them, keep in mind that things are done a little bit differently here in Uruguay. It may not be as formal like you're used to. For example, for payments of these services from overseas, usually PayPal or sending a direct bank wire transfer, because bank transfers are very common here. Once you move here, if you move here, you will see that people are doing direct bank to bank transfers all the time. Venmo is not like a thing here, so everyone does direct. I'll get into that in specifics in another episode. But again, without having met our relocation specialist in person and just over the phone, we sent him payment via wire transfer. And it felt risky, but it worked out just fine. That's literally just how things are done here. Again, we worked with someone who was recommended to us, so we figured the chances of them kind of running off and taking our money were pretty low. Sometimes you just have to trust the process, even if it's unfamiliar to you. So if you are looking to move abroad to Uruguay, start soliciting and gathering important documents and multiple copies of it. I recommend at least 3 copies of documents like your birth certificates, marriage certificates, driving records. And once you have those documents, you need to get them apostilled, which means they have to get sent to the Secretary of State of where that particular certificate was issued and get the official apostille stamp on it. In our case, we had to send them to 3 different states to get apostilled, because all 3 people in my family, we were all born in different states. So if you plan in advance for all of this, you can do this by standard priority mail in the US with like tracking numbers. But if you're crunched for time, then you have to pay extra for like express shipping. Or there are also services out there that you can hire to handle all the administrative work of getting the documentation apostilled for you. Obviously, that will cost you. I think it's depending on where you live. The services can run like a few $100s and up. So just the more planning in advance that you do to give yourself enough time to get these documents sent off and back is the best. For us, it took about a month, I would say, to get our documents finally processed, done with the apostille stamp and mailed back to us. And I would say that was typical, like anywhere from 2 to 4 to 6 weeks. Just plan for that. Another document you should be working on getting is the FBI background check. I would say it's better to have that done before moving here and bringing it down with you. If not, you will have to make an appointment here at Interpol in Montevideo and do the fingerprinting, paperwork, etc. We did this process here, but if we had already done it in the US, then I think it would have sped up our residency process timeline for sure. Obviously, when it comes to the background check, you need to have a good criminal record, to be considered for residency. If you have anything negative on your record, or say in your youth, when you were under 18, below 18, there was something on your record, then be sure to get it expunged before you get your background check to avoid delays. So in general, my main point here is just to plan ahead, and that will help you a lot. So hopefully this episode helped you decide whether hiring a relocation or immigration specialists as professional support for your Uruguayan residency is the right move for your situation. I personally consider it one of the best investments we have made during our moving process, and I personally would encourage you to do the same. Thank you so much for listening or watching this episode. If I helped clarify things for you, please like, subscribe, share your thoughts or questions in the comments because I read them all. And my goal here at Tranquil Living Uruguay is to be your passport to Uruguay, a place I call a hidden gem south of the equator. Whether you're traveling through or you're an aspiring expat, I'm sharing real life lived experiences from the perspective of an American Latina millennial expat. And remember, life abroad doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be tranquil. Cheers.